Okay, we're going to be working with finding the volume of a cone. So our formula for finding the volume of a cone is the area of our base times our height, and then finding a third of that. So in the book uses 1/3 times our base times our height, the area of our base times our height. Instead of using 1/3, 1/3 is the same as dividing a whole into 3 pieces. So we could actually, instead of taking a third times that, we could divide our answer of our area of our base times our height and divide that by 3, which is kind of nice because then we just use the same formula that we did with cylinders. Okay, so we're going to go through and we're going to find the volume of our cone. So because that cone continues to get smaller and smaller as it goes up, that's why we're dividing it by 3 or taking it times a third. Okay, so our volume of a cone is very similar to a cylinder. We're going to do an area of our base, which is pi times radius squared, and then take that times the height. The only thing that's different is because it gets smaller and smaller and smaller as it's working its way up, we are going to divide by 3 or take it times a third, whichever you prefer. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and plug in my information. Our volume equals pi is 3.14 times our radius. Well, the diameter was 4, so our radius is 2 squared, times our height is 6. Okay, 2 squared is the same as 4, so I'm just going to substitute that in. And then we have to remember to divide by 3. That's the most common made mistake. Or take it times a third. Okay, so on my calculator, we're going to do 3.14 times 4 times 6. And when I do that, I get 75.36. Now I have to remember to divide by 3 because it's a cone, or take it times a third. My final answer is 25.12. Our units was meters, and it is volume, so we have to remember to put our little cubed on there. Okay, so the nice thing about this is we get to really use the same formula that we did for cylinders, just that now we have to divide that out by 3 or take it times a third. Okay, so let's try another one. Okay, so our volume equals area of our base, so pi r squared times our height, and then we're going to divide by 3 because it's a cone, or take it times a third. So my radius here is going to be 3. So we have our volume equals pi is 3.14 times 3 squared, which is the same as 9, times our height of 3. And then in the end, we have to divide by 3. Okay, so volume equals 3.14 times 9 times 3 gives me 84.78. And now we're going to divide that by 3. And when I do that, I get 28.26. Units was meters, and that's cubed. Okay, let's go ahead and try one more. This time I'll go ahead and just draw a cylinder. Or not a cylinder, sorry, a cone. Okay, so I'm going to leave my formula up there. So here's my cone. And we'll do the height of 10 and the radius of 5. Okay, so we're going to substitute in. Volume equals pi is 3.14. And yes, you could use the coefficient if you wanted to use. It's just that when you divide by 3, it's kind of tricky. So that's why I'm just going ahead and putting in the 3.14 instead of the pi symbol. Let's see, and then we're going to go times our radius, which is 5. So 5 squared is 25, times our height of 10. Okay, so 3.14 times 25 times 10 is 250. Gives me 785. And then I have to remember this is a cone. So I forgot to write that up there. So I need to divide by 3. And that gives me 261.6 repeating. And labels, let's say it was inches. So we're going to say inches cubed. Okay, so that's working with the formula and going through and actually solving for the volume of a cone. So the only difference is because it gets smaller and smaller and smaller going up, you're going to go ahead and divide by 3. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on into working with finding a missing piece of a cone. So we're going to be looking for a missing piece of a height. Okay, so we're still going to use that same formula, volume equals pi r squared times height, or our area of our base times our height, but we're going to find a third of that or divide it by 3. So I'm going to go ahead, just like we did with cylinders, we're going to piece in the information. So our volume is 7,200, so that's my volume, equals pi, which is 3.14, times our radius, they're telling us is 15, so 15 squared times our height. Okay, so now we're going to go through and simplify. So I still have 7,200 on this side, and then we have to remember that this has to divide by 3. Okay, equals 3.14 times 15 squared times our height divided by 3. Okay, so because that divided by 3 is sitting there on the bottom, we're going to go ahead and simplify what we can in the top, and then we'll divide that answer by 3. So I'm going to go ahead and do my 3.14 times 15 squared. So 15 times 15 is 225 times 3.14 gives me 706.5 times the height divided by 3 equals 7,200. Okay, so now I'm going to take and I could divide that 706.5 by 3, or I could multiply both sides by 3. So I'm going to go ahead and go times 3 over here. Why? Because 3 over 3 cancels that out. So I can go times 3 over here. Okay, and that's kind of the tricky part of this one, is because there's that divided by 3, instead of taking it times a third, I can just think the opposite of a third is actually 3. So 7,200 times 3 gives me times my height. Now to get h all by itself, I would divide by 706.5, divide by 706.5, and that's going to tell me my height. So 21,600 divided by 706.5 gives me 30.57. Which seems really large. I wonder if I divided by 3 on my 706. Let's see, 706.5 divided by 3 would give me 235.5. So then 7,200 divided by 235.5 still gives me 30.57. So I get the same answer either way. It just doesn't look this doesn't look like it would be 30.5, but we can check ourselves. So how can we check it? Well, we're going to go ahead and substitute back in. So because I'm just double checking thinking, wow, this looks like a much larger distance than that. And that's why I was second guessing myself when I originally got it. Let's just go ahead and substitute in. So if I were to do pi r squared, well, we would do 3.14 times our radius is 15. 15 squared is 225. Times our height, right now we're saying is 30.5, and then divide that by 3. It should give me the 7,200, or approximately that. So 3.14 times 225 times 30.5. Now I'm going to divide that by 3. And when I do, it gives me 7,182.75. So very close. Remember, we were working decimal numbers that were kind of long, so close enough. So 30.5 yards is going to be our answer on that one. Okay, so once again, I second guessed myself just because when I looked at the picture, I was like, did I do something wrong? Okay, so sometimes the pictures aren't the best, but I do feel more confident by checking myself. Okay, that's just a self-check thing. Sometimes you might need to do that, and that's okay. Okay, so let's try another one just to solidify it a little bit more. Hopefully this picture is a little better. Okay, so our volume, oh, that one, we don't want to do volume. We want to find the missing height. That one's already done. We want to find where they've given us the volume. So volume equals pi r squared times our height divided by 3 because it's cone. So our volume is 956 equals pi is 3.14 times our radius squared. So 9 squared is 81. So 81 times our height divided by 3. And in the previous one, I checked it both ways. I checked to see, do I have to divide by 3? Divide this part right here by 3. Will it still give me the same answer? And it will. So you have to decide, do you want to take that both sides times 3 to get rid of that divided by 3? Or do you want to go through and divide just your known by 3? But you end up with the same answer either way. So 956 equals 3.14 times 81. Oops, 3.14 times 81 gives me 254.34 times our height divided by 3. So I'm going to go ahead and by dividing by 3, I'm going to go times 3 just to cancel it out. If you want to divide just this part right here by 3, it'll work. I'm just going to do this times 3. And I'll show you in just a second. It'll work either way. So if I do, by getting rid of that divided by 3, I can go times 3. So 956 times 3, gives me 2,868 equals 254.34 times our height. So now I'll divide by that 254 to get rid of it. So 2,868 divided by 254.34 is approximately 11.27, so 11.3. And then units was feet. Okay, the other way that I could have done it that I was saying back previously is we could have gone through and divided this part by 3, and we should still get the same answer. So we'll just test it. So if I took 254.34, divided that by 3, it's going to give me 84.78. And then I have 956 times the height. So that was just doing this division. Then I would divide by 84.78. It should give me the same answer, because I just tested it in the previous one when I was second guessing myself. Okay, so 956 divided by 84.78 gives me 11.27, which was the same as the previous one, which is 11.3 feet. So you have to decide if you just want to divide what's known on this side by 3, or if you want to multiply both sides by 3 to get rid of that division by 3. It is up to you. So once again, working through this, you're just going to go through and actually substitute in the known pieces and then isolate that height or that h to find out what your height is.